We're talking with Darrell Bock about Jesus and the New Testament. Darrell, can I ask a methodological question? Some people would say that you can't be a good historian while believing the New Testament is a sacred text. You have to dispense with conservative theology in order to do good history.
Well, history is really about working with nuances, and one of the things that I think history does is to help us appreciate how the biblical text is constructed. And that it develops certain ideas, and that certain things that you see in the earlier writings get developed as you move over time, as people do reflect on them. I actually think being a historian makes me a better reader of the Bible, and it makes me sensitive to those developments. So I appreciate the Bible and how it works better. But the flip question is, can I be a good historian and do that? And I think the answer is yes. That if you are aware that the Bible isn't flat in what it presents, that it doesn't say the same thing the same way every time, and that each writer has his own angle that he brings to what he's talking about, and you appreciate that and you put it in a cultural setting, you can be a very good historian in teasing all that out, and at the same time make sense out of what the Bible does, both where it's unified and where it has little differences of emphasis, because we have different writers seeing different things. You know, no one of us reacts to a great person in the same way. We're all impacted by different things. We're drawn by different things. There may be certain things that we share with one another in our impression of a great person, but we won't all say exactly the same thing about him and how he impacts us. Jesus is the same way, and Jesus is portrayed the same way in the Bible. And so those differences are actually touches of reality, and the historian can do a good job of teasing that out if we don't insist on the Bible being read in a flat way.
What draws you personally from viewing Jesus merely as a historical Galilean teacher-healer to the exalted Jesus?
Well, if I study Jesus carefully in his cultural context and take his message seriously, what I see is that he doesn't present ideas about God. He presents himself as at the center of the program of God. You can't get to what Jesus is saying about God without taking Jesus along for the ride. And so in that sense, it became clear as I worked with Jesus that I can't separate him. He's not merely a prophetic figure, one among many who announces things about God, and he's not part of the play. He's not part of the game. He's actually very much the center of the game. It's like God's the coach and he's the key player. And so I can't be involved with this team without being involved with Jesus. And his teaching shows this so explicitly. The scene at Caesarea Philippi, where there's the great confession that contrasts what the apostles understand about Jesus with what the public understands about Jesus, is very clear in this regard. The public sees Jesus as a prophet, one among many, and Peter comes along and says, no, you're the Christ, you're the anointed one, you're the promised one that the nation has been longing for centuries, and we understand you're at the center of God's program. So that's why Christianity is Christianity. Without it, you wouldn't have anything. It's Christ in the middle of this faith, because it is the Christ who stands at the center of this faith and what God is doing.
Darrell Bock, thank you.
You're welcome.